Ms. Speier.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here today. Secretary Modly, in your opening statement, you indicated that you are committed to stamping out sexual harassment in the Navy. And yet last February, you promoted a man named Ronnie Booth to head the Navy's audit agency, even though there had been multiple whistleblowers and complainants that had come forward documenting his workplace sexual harassment retaliation dating back to 2007. Alarmingly, many people reported him wanting to offer to mentor female subordinates, suggested they meet outside of work, arrange travel with them. This man is the person you chose to lead a major naval agency. I wrote your office asking about these concerns, and then Secretary Spencer responded by saying there was no documented, substantiated evidence of Mr. Booth's behavior. Yet, following my letter, Mr. Booth was reassigned to work as a special assistant and retired shortly thereafter. Would you please indicate to us how that squares?
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate the question, and I remember your letter very clearly. Let me say that that situation was part of a broader cultural and climate problem that I had at the Naval Audit Service. I had to take action to remove somebody and move somebody into a position of authority in that organization. I did it very methodically and very carefully. There, if I may, well, I was not aware, when we made that decision, we went back and followed all the rules in terms of what can restrict you from putting somebody in a position of that place. There was no documented evidence, no IG investigations, nothing.
There were complaints that had been filed. How can you say there was no documented evidence?
There was no documented evidence in his individual record that prohibited me from doing that. When I found out about this, thanks to your letter and to some emails that came to me, we immediately started an internal investigation. The DOD started an internal, broader investigation, and we were told to shut down our investigation on that. Okay.
Who told you to shut it down?
The DOD IG. Because once they started an investigation, we can't have a parallel investigation.
I see, because they were now investigating.
That's correct.
I guess the real question is, why did it take a letter from me that then triggered an Inspector General evaluation?
Because there was no evidence before I found that.
Well, I find it hard to believe if there are complaints that are filed that that's not considered evidence. Let me ask you another question.
Well, may I say something else about this?
No, well,
if the suggestion is that I would ever
for the record.
Ms. Modly, she controls the time. I'm sympathetic because she has the right to ask the questions she wants to ask, so let her ask.
In the budget proposal, the Navy has cut the SAPRO budget. How can you cut that budget when we have an epidemic on our hands?
Ma'am, I don't know the specifics in terms of how much we cut that budget, but I have been extremely committed to fighting sexual assault and harassment in the service.
Then why do you cut the budget? The
I don't know
numbers are up.
The numbers are up. We take it very seriously. The Navy, the Department of the Navy, actually initiated actions with other universities around the country to get after this problem, to share information and to share data. And I will just say, if the suggestion is that I would ever put a person in a position of authority knowing full well with documented evidence that that person was a sexual harasser, that would never happen. Well, I would never do that. And the suggestion, I think,
this is my time. I'd like to ask another question. The LCS turned out to be a debacle. Part of the problem was the cost estimates were way undervalued. They were first supposed to be $220 million apiece. They ended up costing 2.5 times that much. The GAO said you should do independent cost estimates. As of August of 2019, there has never been an independent estimate of the frigate. CBO thinks that the actual cost will probably exceed your estimates by about $300 million per ship. It seems like we need the benefit of an independent estimate. Are you intending to do that?
We intend to do, the LCS program predates me by many, many years. We intend to do independent cost estimates on every new platform that we're doing.
So the frigate will be subject to an independent cost estimate?
Yes.
All right, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The